Henderson from WCCO TV, and it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend Ron Henderson, the Fitness King, presenting Motivation, one word to help change your life.
Hi, I'm Ron Henderson, aka the Fitness King. On today's show, I have the pleasure of having Mr. Dave Skinner. He is the president of Applied Countermeasures Group. Welcome to Motivation, Dave. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
This is exciting. You don't know this, but my background used to be security. Wanted to be a police officer. 15 credits short of law enforcement. Okay? So this is going to be fun. You do a lot of work with churches and a lot of different companies. But before we get in that, where did you grow up and what's your background? What got you to where you are today that you run this group?
You know, I tell you, I grew up in upstate New York, and my mom, she worked in emergency services. She was a ER nurse, and she's a caring, giving person. So I was brought up in an environment to really care for and serve others. Always very active with my church. And I ended up going into the military at 18 years old and serving in the Air Force. And
did you join or were you drafted?
I joined the Air Force.
At 18, why?
Well, I wanted to serve. I wanted to serve my country. My father served in the Army, and I decided I was going to serve. And I served the Air Force for 4 years. Absolutely loved it. Went into security police work and serving out there in the great state of Montana. And it was incredible. And I just transitioned from there into local law enforcement. I served as a police officer in Great Falls, Montana. Spent 10 years there, and I tell you that it built a really, really great foundation for me in working with the public and being able to make a difference in the community.
Yes.
I enjoyed that time immensely. And from there, you probably remember the Kosovo conflict in 1999 and 2000. I made a decision at that time to serve the United Nations as a contractor. I went over to Kosovo. I spent a year there serving there, and I helped them start up their law enforcement program.
And what does it mean as a contractor for people that may not know?
Well, the UN puts together a peacekeeping force to go in and assist in areas of the world where they may just need that type of assistance, whatever that assistance may be. And I served in the capacity of setting up a law enforcement program there. So I spent a year there doing that for the United Nations, working with about 18 different countries while we were there.
Were you ever scared at any of those different jobs that you had like it? Were you ever scared?
I wasn't really scared.
Because you're not a big guy, Dave.
Not a big guy.
You don't have to be.
Yeah, not a big guy, but I've had some really good training, and I've always walked into any public service or operation with my eyes wide open, ready to learn and ready to apply the skills that I have and that I've learned over the years. So I wouldn't say that I was scared, but I was certainly aware. And definitely it can be a little nerve-wracking going into a foreign country during wartime. And so, but it was very rewarding. It was very rewarding. So I spent a year there, and then after I fulfilled that contract, I came back to the state of Montana, where I served as a state criminal investigator, and did that for a year. And then, of course, 9/11 happened. Once 9/11 happened, I jumped in with the Federal Air Marshal Service, and I served with them until I retired in 2015. And in 2015, I decided to make a transition to the private sector and take all of those skills I learned over those years, and I created Applied Countermeasures Group, ACG.
And when did that first start? What year did you start?
In December 2015, we launched.
What was that like starting that business, and how did you go about it, if you don't mind sharing that a little bit?
Well, coming from public sector, serving the government and jumping into public sector, private sector.
Different.
It was different for me, and it was a little bit challenging, but I saw that there was a need there, and I wanted to fulfill that need. I saw that there was organizations out there, companies, churches, schools that were looking for solutions to the criminal behavior that seems to be escalating across the United States. And firmly believe that with my background and my experience that I could bring that knowledge to them and just help them safeguard their environment.
Right. So if you were to tell us right now what your mission statement would be, what would that be?
Our mission is to serve and protect our clients to the best of our knowledge with the tools and knowledge that we have that we can instill upon them to create a safer environment.
Okay. Can you give me a little introduction to, like, when you go into a church or something, how do you approach it with them?
Well,
Where do you start?
The first thing I like to ask is, have you thought about safety and security for your congregation?
Right.
And if so, have you taken any action to implement some type of program?
Right.
And if you have a program in place, share with me what that is. And is it fulfilling your need?
Right.
And what are your goals for your congregation? Not only for the people that are attending your services, but what about your building and your property?
Right.
And from there, I ask them, what are your goals?
Right.
What do you want to achieve?
Right.
And typically what we find is they have a lot of goals and they're not able to fulfill that need
Right.
based on the resources that they have available to them. And they get approached from their members of their congregation,
Right,
and they get
yeah,
asked,
yeah.
what are we doing about this? What are we doing about active threats? What do we
Right.
do if we have an emergency medical situation here? What if
Right.
there's severe weather approaching the building?
Right.
We just don't know really what to do. They don't really have a plan. They're reacting to these
Right,
things and not
right.
responding to
Right.
them. So I share with them our program. Our program is called the POWER program.
Right.
POWER stands for Places of Worship Emergency Response. It's an entire program designed around identifying vulnerabilities that are associated with the church and providing them with a plan to mitigate those vulnerabilities. But our mitigation solutions have to be in alignment with their culture.
Right.
So what we do is we spend time with them, interviewing them and attending service, attending events at those churches so we can really understand the culture. So our mitigation solutions make sense
Right.
with the vulnerabilities that they have. And so we identify risk and then we find solutions to minimize that risk.
Right.
And then we create their emergency action plans. How do you respond to an active threat situation?
And how do people typically respond? So let's say you're at a church right now, somebody comes in even with a knife or whatever. How do these people deal with it if they don't know how to? Some people know how to handle themselves, other people don't.
That's a great question, Ron. So most churches aren't equipped to deal with a situation
Right.
like that. So we help them create what we call safety and security team. Many churches obviously have greeters and they have ushers, and that's typically the people that end up volunteering to be part of the safety and security team. They remain greeters and ushers. We just give them some added skills. And
And give me an example.
an example would be, I'll give you an example. I taught a class last night for a church that we're working with. They have about 25 to 27 people that showed up at this training. They've been greeters and ushers at this church for many years, and they see this need to increase security measures. And they wanted to take it to that next level, so they're asking for training. So we're providing them training through our program so they can identify suspicious behaviors.
Yeah.
So as you know, you attend church, you know most of the people that attend your church.
Right.
You recognize their faces. You may not know all their names, but you recognize them, and you have what we would call normal behaviors for people that are coming to attend a service.
Right.
And we teach them to recognize those behaviors that are not normal or consistent within their environment. And when they see those behaviors, we teach them how to address them, how to contact that person. Maybe a soft approach of, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the church. What brings you here today?
Right. Yep.
So we teach them that skill set of just, how do I engage this person and have a conversation for the purpose of making a determination, is this person a threat or not a threat?
Right.
And we know that 99% of the time they're not. They're just
Excellent
looking
idea.
for a new church.
Right.
They were invited and they wanted to come in, they want to be comfortable, and they're just unfamiliar with the surroundings, so maybe they're just not acting in accordance
Right.
with everybody else.
Right.
So, but if they determine that there's something amiss there, and there might be the potential for a threat, that we teach them to just dig a little bit deeper, to ask some more open-ended questions to discover,
Right.
is there a threat or not a threat here? And if they discover as a threat that it is a threat, then what action is
Right.
appropriate
Right.
to take between this individual and your congregation?
Right.
Is it just, do we continue a conversation? Is there physical force that might be needed
Right.
to stop a threat? Or do we call the police right away and have the police
So you're trying to do a lot of
respond and engage?
proactive things,
Everything is
basically.
proactive,
Right,
you know?
right.
There's a lot of reactive programs out
Right,
there, and of course,
right.
we teach how to respond to emergencies once they occur. But if we can be more proactive in our approach, maybe
Right.
we can prevent them from happening in the first place.
I would agree. Now, let me ask you this, Dave. Are people feeling, okay, before I ask you that question, my background, a little bit about my background, 24 years doing security type work, bodyguard type work, working with a lot of policemen. And what I found is a lot of people that they can shoot a gun, but there's a lot of officers that can't handle themselves, and they're police officers. So when something happens in this environment, in this church, and they got to get physical, what do they do? The
Well-
average guy can't handle himself, the average guy that I know.
The average guy
Okay.
cannot. And I'll tell you, when it comes to a church safety and security team, they have to respond in accordance with the policies and procedures set
Right,
by the church.
Right.
And a lot of that also comes from their insurance companies. And actually putting hands on somebody is
Right, you gotta watch
a
it.
last
Oh, yeah.
resort.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want to put our hands
Oh,
on
yeah.
somebody. We don't want to cause injury.
Right.
And we don't want to be injured.
You don't- exactly.
We don't want to escalate a situation.
Exactly.
So it's a last resort. Typically, we don't go hands-on with somebody unless they go hands-on with us.
Right,
And then
right.
it becomes a self-defense
Right.
situation.
Right.
And there are many people that are part of these safety and security teams that honestly don't have that training.
Right, right.
So we teach them how to utilize the skill set that's
Of a team.
needed to verbally de-escalate a
Right.
situation. And there may be just a small handful of people that are part of that team that have the skill set to physically engage somebody
Right.
if that's necessary. Believe it or not, Ron, a lot of people that are part of these safety and security teams are police officers or they're former
I've seen
police
some, yes,
officers.
yes.
Some of them are prior military, some of them are firefighters or nurses.
Right.
They're just professionals in the field, in the community that are attending church there
Right.
that bring their skill set to the team. And it works very, very well. So we understand that people have limitations on how they're going to engage somebody, and they need to understand that they have limitations,
Right.
and they need to act accordingly. So we train them and prepare them to be more proactive, to get ahead of the threat. Sometimes that just doesn't work. You know, you're aware that we just had a very tragic situation at the Church of Christ
Right.
in White Settlement, Texas, where we had an individual come in and shoot and kill two
Exactly.
members of that congregation there. This was all caught on a live stream because their service is live streamed.
Right.
We're able to use that video to kind of pick it apart, not to criticize them,
Sure.
because they did a fantastic job responding to this active threat situation. But what could we do better?
Right.
What could we do better at our church? What can we
Right.
learn from this incident? So we've been using that video too with some of our clients to show
Okay.
what's possible, what could happen at your church, and how would you respond to this?
Right.
And hopefully you have a very positive income based on the training that we can provide you.
Right.
And so, you know, that's where we're at with our teams.
Do you have
So-
do you have a big team?
Well, every church has their own team.
Right, but I'm saying your training, your company that's coming in training people is a fairly large group of people that are helping to train
Yes,
people.
we have about six. Right now we have 6 contractors that
Okay.
that work with ACG that we've brought in. They're all retired law enforcement
Okay.
officers.
Okay.
We take a lot of pride in the fact that the people that we bring into our
Right.
team have law enforcement
Background,
background
right.
and also have some experience working with private industry.
Right, okay.
So that, I think, adds a lot of benefit to our team because our team members have been responding to incidents for years, many,
Sure.
many years
Right.
in most cases. Myself, for example, 28 years of law enforcement
Right.
experience. We have two of our contractors that have over 30 years
Good,
of law enforcement
good,
experience. So they bring that to the table and all the lessons learned over that time.
Okay.
So
That's good. And I was asking you those questions because from what I know about churches, I would think that you guys would be, how can I say it, couldn't be able to handle the load of churches that would want you to come in. There should be a lot of churches having you guys come in. So how do you handle that? You guys got to be busy.
we are busy. We get a lot of calls, and churches don't move really fast.
Right. And they should.
with getting things done.
They really should
They
be
need to move a
prepared.
little. They need to move a little faster.
Yes.
But I'll tell you kind of how it goes on our day-to-day operation and the calls that we receive. We visit a lot of churches. We do our proposals because we have to talk about their goals. Like I
Right,
said earlier, we
right.
have to talk about their goals and what their objective is, and then our proposal has to be in accordance with those goals. And then it takes some time to get a response from them and when they want to move forward. We typically have 6 to 10 churches at a time that we're working with.
Right.
And it's not a one and done deal. We form partnerships with our clients, especially our churches, and we become their security consultants for all of their needs.
Okay.
We conduct their risk assessment. We write their emergency action plans. We train their staff. They call on us when they have issues and say, how should we respond to this? Or did we respond to this appropriately?
Right.
We need some more training in this area. So it's a partnership that just continues for years and years and
Right,
years.
right.
And as you know, the people that are part of the safety and security teams, the ushers and the greeters at churches, they're volunteers.
Right.
They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
paid staff.
I've done it, yeah.
So it's a volunteer army.
Right.
And so they come and go also.
Right.
Life happens and they may get transferred for work or whatever the case may
Mm-hmm.
be. So they're bringing in new safety and security team members all the time. So the training just has to continue.
Right.
So yeah, it's very busy. There are a lot of churches out there. We're working from coast to coast.
Right.
We've got clients right now from Boston to Denver, from Minnesota to Florida,
Right, right.
and Texas. So we've got clients everywhere. So there's a big need out there, and there's a pretty good handful of guys out there that are doing what we do.
Right.
They may not have the same approach that we have, but I'm so happy to see that there's other guys out there that
Right.
are bringing benefit to these places of worship that are
yeah.
in such need
Oh, yeah.
today.
And you think you're pretty good, right? Your company?
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job.
And what makes you guys better than most of the companies out there that are doing that? I mean, honestly.
You know, honestly, Ron, I think it's our experience.
Right.
It's our experience as law enforcement officers, as trainers,
Right.
working in environments, whether they of local cities,
Right.
working for state, working in foreign soil,
Right.
and working with private industry. Some of our guys have been school resource officers. A lot of them are very active with their churches.
Right.
So bringing all of that experience in, and then being willing to learn.
Right.
We don't know it all.
Sure.
I'm in my 50s now. I've been
Right.
doing this for
You're
a
in your
long
prime.
time.
You're
I'm
in
my
your
prime.
Folks, he's in his prime of life.
So
You're
even
prime.
though I have all this experience, every day I'm trying to learn more. I want to learn more. How can I add more value
Right.
for my clients?
Right.
And all of our guys have that same attitude. So
Okay.
we don't go in saying, hey, we know it all.
Right.
We go in saying we got a lot of experience.
Yes.
And we're going to bring our experience from our entire team to your
Right.
organization. And we're going to also learn from you as we're helping you build your team, because your goals and your needs and your environment are going to be very specific to your organization.
Exactly. Now, does it help being a Christian, a man of faith, too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. God works through us, not
Right.
for us, right?
Yeah.
So, I feel every day that I'm serving Him.
Right.
And when we go into a place of God, a house of worship,
Right.
we know that we're serving Him
Yeah.
as well as that community. So I honestly, I just think it fills my heart. I mean, we
Amen.
feel that this
Amen.
is a mission for us. This is a calling for us to go and serve these churches.
That's good. If you go into a place like a synagogue, as an example, do they receive this the same way?
Yes, they
For
do,
your
because
service?
they know that we've got excellent programs.
Right.
We're people of faith
For everybody?
for everybody.
Right, right.
That's why we call it the House of Worship program, Places
Right.
of Worship Emergency Response,
Right.
because it's all places of worship.
Right.
Look, we don't all worship the same God,
Exactly.
but we all do worship a higher power.
Right.
And we respect that with every religion, and we work with every religion. There's nobody that we don't work with, because
Right.
we have a good understanding of that.
Right.
And regardless of where our faith is and what God we're worshiping, we're all coming to serve that higher power, and we
Right.
all want to safeguard
Oh, yeah.
our
Oh, yeah.
congregation.
Oh,
We
yeah.
want to safeguard our community so they can worship in peace.
Right. Do you do schools too?
Yes.
Okay.
We work with public and private schools,
Mm-hmm.
and that business is going very well. The schools definitely understand the need. We know that there have been a number of incidents that have occurred in
Right.
churches that have caught the attention of the media and have been well publicized. We've had some active shooter events. We like to call them active threats.
Right.
It's a threat that is brought into your environment. We have studied those incidents that have occurred, everything from Columbine and moving
Right,
forward.
right.
And we've learned from all of them. So we bring that experience also to our clients. I was a 7th grade teacher for 2 years in my law enforcement career, and so I have got a lot of experience in working with schools, so we know how to approach them and fulfill their needs, and we know how to work in their environment.
Right.
And they're considered a soft target, let's be
Right.
honest.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Churches and schools are soft targets, and people who intend to cause harm to churches and schools, they're not going there looking for a fight. They're just
Right.
looking to cause harm. So we have to really look at the physical security measures surrounding schools more than churches, because churches are open doors for
Right.
everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Schools, we have people who are registered to attend, or
Sure,
people who are
sure.
employed there.
Yeah, a little different.
And anybody
Security's a little
outside.
tighter too.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's not a place that gets frequent visitors.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to have a good programs in place to identify those visitors and make sure that that is controlled.
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
Did your experience with, you were in Homeland Security too?
Yes.
For how many years?
13 years.
Wow. How did that experience help you with what you're doing now?
It helped me greatly. The Department of Homeland Security has a lot of good programs that have been designed not only for the government, but they work very closely with private sector.
Right.
Let's say InfraGard, for example, which is part of the FBI. I'm a member of the InfraGard program. It's another great example of federal government working with private sector
Right.
to add value. I like to look at the country of Israel as a really good model
Yeah.
for where Department of Homeland Security is headed. Department of Homeland Security, like I said, they have great programs, but they're always expanding their programs and doing a much better job
Right.
working with the private sector, because that's who they're serving. So I value my experience with the Department of Homeland Security and some doors that were opened for me, and the exposure I had to their programs.
Right.
And I've taken from that and used the skills that I learned from them and brought that to the private sector.
Right. Right.
So,
I remember the first time that I met you, I was speaking at a place, and we were talking, and you were telling me about your experience, and then I went on and I read all this stuff on you. I'm like, I was getting tired of reading. You have a lot of experience. I was very impressed.
yeah, thank you.
A lot of experience in serving in the military, so I should salute you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know,
I'm
between
serious.
my service with the military, a local police department, an international police task force, a state criminal investigator,
Investigator, yeah.
and as a federal agent, bringing all of that experience
Right.
together to form ACG. It's just been very valuable experience to bring
Right.
forth.
Is
for our
it
clients.
too easy for you, what you're doing now? Used to all that high-end stuff?
No, I mean, every day there's new challenges
Right.
because, like I said, clients, they have very specific needs for the environment that they operate in. So every day for me is just a new
Okay,
challenge.
okay.
You know, I have a lot of experience that I bring to the table that allows me to comfortably go in
Right.
to work with all of those clients, but then identifying their needs
Right.
and taking that experience and applying it. That's where the challenge is, and I
Right.
really enjoy that challenge. We're
Right.
always able to find great solutions for our clients, and they really appreciate us coming to the table and bringing that experience to them. And that's the reward at the end of the day.
Right.
You know, when I put my head down on a pillow at night, I know that I helped another place of worship,
Sure.
another school,
Sure.
another business, another retail shop.
Sure.
And I know that I just made them a little bit safer, and I instilled new knowledge on that staff,
right.
so they can identify threats or respond to them
Right,
appropriately.
right. Dave, sounds like a big job that you guys have and going. It sounds like it would take a lot of time. Is it expensive? I don't want to hear the price on it, but is it real expensive to hire you guys?
Really, it's
Or is
not.
it reasonable?
Yeah, it's very
For
reasonable.
safety, yeah.
Very reasonable. We want our programs to be cost effective for places
Mm-hmm.
of worship. We know that the money coming into places
Right.
of worship is donated by their congregation for various reasons, and we want to be good stewards of their money, and we want to make sure that we can provide them the service that they're looking for a very affordable price.
Right.
So no, we're competitive in the market, but I think that we're from what we've seen in the market, we are below a lot of
Right.
our competitors
Sounds
in
good.
pricing.
How would they get a hold of you? Do you have a website?
Yeah, we have a website. It's tacticalacg.com. They can go onto our website and find all the information there, or they can email me at dave@tacticalacg.com. So all of the information is there about our programs,
Okay,
how to
with
contact
gun
us.
training and all that stuff. So you do gun training, weapons training?
Yes.
Do you do self-defense training at all too?
We're not doing self-defense
Right.
training at this time. We are working with some other vendors that
Right.
we can certainly connect them
Yeah.
to those vendors. We specialize in conducting those physical
Right.
security risk assessments, drafting emergency action plans that are appropriate for the building,
Right,
and
right.
conducting training associated with responding to an active threat, identifying suspicious behaviors,
Yep, yep.
responding to severe weather situations, power outage, looking for missing children, hazardous chemicals exposed to the area, how to respond to a medical emergency,
Right.
smoke or fire.
Yep.
So all of those types of things that they would typically respond to, we put plans together for that.
Sounds
And
good.
we
You got
train.
about 1 minute, because I
Yes.
just looked at the clock. Where would you like to see Applied Countermeasures be in the next 2 years?
We continue to bring in more and more retired law enforcement officers and actively serving law enforcement officers. I would like us to have, 2, 3, 4, 5 consultants in every state in the United States. There's churches in every state that need this service. We want to continue to grow, continue to serve,
Right.
and do the best we can to touch every church out there to bring them the safety and security that they need.
I like it. And do you guys have reviews online too?
We do.
Okay.
Our reviews can be seen online, and we would gladly, if you're interested in working with ACG, we would gladly connect you with some of our clients that we're working with, so they can share their experience with you.
Now, folks at home, if I wasn't a motivational speaker and a trainer, I'd love to be working with these guys. I always think of security. I always watch where I position myself, even in restaurants or whatever. I like to know what's going on. I'm always looking for where's the doors and all that stuff. So I love what you're doing, and yeah.
Situational awareness.
Definitely.
We all need to practice it.
Yes, I want to hey, Dave, thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Ron.
Yeah. Folks at home, you've been watching Motivation with Ron Henderson, a.k.a. the Fitness King, and my guest, the one and only Mr. Dave Skinner. He is the president of Applied Countermeasures Group, talking about some really good stuff. So if you're a church out there looking for a little increase in security and looking to do it the right way, get a hold of these guys. They're going to have all your information at the bottom of the screen. So until next time, everything that you do, stay motivated and stay fit, gang. Good job.
Thank you.